recognizing that even though I'm in the mental health space, there's a piece of me that I'm still healing certain wounds that I had to deal with growing up, where like I've never had a problem with anybody, but I've never felt like I was accepted in every space. And now I recognize I'm not trying to be accepted, but I'm also not going to segregate myself to one space too, because I'm just going to say this real quick. If our spaces are only for blacks, if it's black only, if it's black men heal, if it's black men this, and we only want our people to be in that space, which is fine, but we're not actually extending it or opening it up to anybody else, and we may have talked about this before, then now we're literally running back the same exact thing they used to do. And so it's like, so basically what you've done is you put a black only sign over top of your infrastructure. Oh, we're having a meeting, it's black only. Like, bro, right. We just now getting around to this. We gonna run this back. That's what we gonna do, huh? Right. Like, right. And I know a lot of people that goes over their head because it's like, yeah, but we need our space. No, 100% agreed. But like we're basically saying we don't want allies on the other side. We don't want to invite other people in.
Well, welcome, soulmates. We are pleased to be here today in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. Weather outside feels like it's spring, but it's supposed to go back to pure winter tomorrow. But we are loving this spring weather right now. But we are glad to be here. I'm Chill, as you all know, and I'm here with my podcast partner, my wonder twin, DB. How you doing, bro?
Hey, I'm good, brother. It is good to be here in the flesh with you.
It's been a little while.
Been a while. We do a lot of these via StreamYard, our video platform, but now it's really good to be back in person, man. So
nothing like being in person.
Looking forward to today's conversation.
Yeah. Well, we said recently that we were going to be headed here to Charlotte to do a series of shows that were going to be mind-blowing shows for you, and we are glad to be here in the studio of Robert Moore III.
Yeah.
Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me, man. This is truly an honor. I don't ever look lightly when somebody invites me to their platform to just be able to enjoy a conversation and be able to just see what I can add to the conversations you guys already have. So no, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start here. We're in his studio. Right. So that means we didn't bring any equipment today. We didn't do any setup, tear down. We're in his studio, which is amazing. It's mind blowing, by the way. Right. So we have some aspirations, and you've sort of set the bar for us. So we know we got work to do.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy to host you.
Well, it was a friend of mine, Unica Smalls, who was at a conference here in Charlotte, and literally, you were on stage presenting. It was probably maybe back around this summer.
Yeah.
And she texted me from the conference and said, you have to meet this guy. And you all exchanged some information, and she passed your information along. And that's actually how you and I started a dialogue and got a chance to meet and started talking. And Unique is an incredible woman. So I knew coming from her when she said it, I knew I had to contact you.
Right.
She even said, literally, he's so good. I was going to come to Greensboro and get you if I needed to make this contact happen.
Listen, I don't know how or what I may have said that just resounded with her so much. And honestly, it was just me being authentic, talking about how, like, I saw a need for a space for men. Yeah. I saw a need for conversations amongst men that were past due on being had, and how important I at the time felt like I was called into this space, and how I was called into like men's ministry, as I call it. I was honored that she even saw that and and she made the connection. So I appreciate her for making that connection and allowing this to even happen today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we want to give you a few minutes to just introduce yourself. Give us a little background on you, where you're from, where you grew up, your family dynamic, and how we got to this point. How we got to this point here.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, wow, that's a loaded question there. That's a lot to. So, well, let's start with I'm Robert Moore III. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. Wow. As far as like how I got here, I would say I got here due to having to like tear down or take apart a lot of things to get to the space where, as I would say, my voice began to actually matter to a lot of other conversations. Right. I felt like there was a time where my voice kind of just blended in with every other voice and every other conversation, and it kind of like revolved around this idea of like, okay, what am I doing for me? What is it about? What's life about? What's my purpose? Yeah. What am I supposed to do to look like them or to achieve what they have or to get what they have? And so it was the constant drive for the grind, constant drive for what I could get or what I wanted to accumulate and what my life would look like when I get those things and how happiness would come. And so I am a husband, I am a father, I am a brother. I hold a lot of different titles. I hold a lot of different hats, as people would say. But I recognize that one of the most important titles that I have recognized that comes before all of those is that I'm a son. And I recognize that title came when I recognized who not just my earthly father was, but who my heavenly father was and who he was to me, and what he had already done for my life, what he was doing for my life. And even if that came down to like him bringing me to a screeching halt in the life I was living to like understand what he had for me. And I think that's not just my story, but that's everybody's story, depending on when they're ready to like dive into that part of their story for sure. So yeah. So I think that covers a lot of it, and I'll answer the rest as we go. I mean, if I missed anything.
Well, from just to give people perspective, if you don't mind my asking your age.
I am 42, 43. I know I'm not the only person that just kind of forgets and just knows they're in their 40s and just like one birthday goes after another, and you're like, yeah, I'm in there somewhere. I'm in there somewhere. Yeah.
Gotcha. We're a bit older.
Yeah.
Darren is now 59. And both birthdays in January, so I just turned 60 in January. And so it's always good to get that perspective, because part of what our focus is with Soul of a Man podcast is dealing with people in the second half of their lives. Yeah. And we kind of started focusing on that, and both of us had obviously hit the 50 point.
Right.
And all of our classmates from high school and college saying, yeah, I've hit 50. Yeah, we're halfway there. It's like, okay, that's assuming you're going to live to be 100.
Right.
So what is the second half actually?
Yeah.
So we did a not so deep dive into some information from the CDC that said the expected life expectancy for black men in this country is 72, I think it is, which puts the second half starting about 36.
Yeah.
And when we kind of started talking to some of our younger peers about that in that age range, in your age range, like, oh, wow, I actually am in my second half.
Yeah, already. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But we're really pushing for folks to live, an incredible life on this in whatever season you're in.
For sure.
Certainly in this season, you're not in a grave, so there's still there's still 100%. Life in it. Still life to live.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I think that you're right. The idea was that when you get to about 50 or so, you've hit the second half, and you're right. Like once you realize that, no, that's I'm well over the second half. Like I'm not even guaranteed. But then depending on the culture and the community you come from, there's some people that feel like the second half is if once they hit 20, if they've made it to 20, like man, like I'm on my second half. I'm not even I'm on borrowed time. So I think that it just depends on the perspective of who you're talking to and what they have seen, like based on what they've seen their uncles live to, what they've seen their other family members and brothers that have been around them. And when you've rest in peace to enough people, like you start to believe that like, no, I'm doing good if I can get out of high school and begin to start the grind.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think the other thing behind that, and we kind of came up with this mantra that you're surviving, existing, or living. And what we're pushing folks towards is living. Because how many times you've run into one of your boys and you're like, hey, man, what's going on? Yo, bro, I'm surviving.
Just making it.
I'm surviving.
I was just making it. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. And so, but like, yo, man, what can we do to get you beyond just surviving?
Right.
Yeah.
We want you to start living.
Yeah.
And living, man, is taking this thing and riding it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you like to travel. If you like to eat. If you want to explore something that you haven't done before, do that. If you want to go skydive. Whatever your it is that gets you from surviving to living. That's what we're trying to get people to do, man. We quite often say, you know, whatever I have left on this earth, it's gonna get the best of me.
Yep,
sure.
And I'm gonna know I went out, not just surviving. I went out living. So
that's good. That's good. And so normally when you ask those questions, what are their responses when you say, man, like you gotta live life to the full, like you gotta like you gotta get out and begin to do things that you don't normally do.
And I think what happens, especially for brothers our age, you know, they have, you know, money, they have, you know, family, spouse, whatever, careers, but it just seem like they're in cruise control.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I know as you work towards retirement, you kind of slow down, or at least some people do. But I'm like, all right, I'm still hearing you like, man, I'm just here. I'm like, dude, where's the excitement in your life? And I'm not saying you have to go out here and you know, all of a sudden become a NASCAR driver or anything like that.
Right.
But it's got to be more than, you know, the old mundane. I go to work, I come home, I chill, I wake up and do the same thing the next morning. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Life has got to offer you more than that.
And another piece of it too is the ideal of kind of living vicariously through your children, which happens a lot in this in this range that we're in. It happens a good bit,
right?
And I think all of us as well probably know some folks that kind of peaked in high school. You know, and still talking about
living in those glory days. Yeah. Still living in those glory days, man. You should have seen that touchdown, man. I ain't thrown one like that since. But boy, if you give me a football again, let me get out there, I'm going to probably throw my hip out. But before that, I'm going to throw a touchdown like I did then.
That's it.
Yeah. So
you know, pushing people. But you mentioned community in your response a little bit earlier, and just give us some insight on your background from a heritage standpoint.
So growing up, it's funny, I grew up here in Charlotte with my mom. I grew up in a predominantly black community, black school, but I grew up Native American, and I grew up seeing a heritage that a lot of people don't ever get to see, or a side of me. Now, of course, it's funny because my mom is a cultural education.
Okay.
My sister is a cultural educator. So what they do is they go around to different communities. They go around to different places, especially to really book during Native American Heritage Month. Yeah. And they share the heritage. They talk about it. They talk about how it looks. They talk about how you can experience it by coming to powwows. So growing up kind of like in both communities, it always made it kind of weird of like, well, where will I fit in more? Like, which community will accept me for who I authentically am, or do I need to adjust or change? And that just starts everybody's, I mean, think about it. When you grow up in a community where they tell you you're not cool unless you wear baggy jeans, or you're not cool if you don't have a little bit of money, and then you got to have those new kicks that come out. Like, then you begin to say, all right, well, cool. Well, like, in order to be accepted here, I got to go get those sneakers. Right. I got to go get that money. And so by any means, that's the direction you take. So being a part of two different communities, where one community, certain things mattered more than the other, it was always confusing. But more importantly, it was like, okay, where do I fit in? Yeah. Who do I fit in more with?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Yeah. If you don't want to disclose, you don't have to. What's your mother's name?
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. Her name is Ramona Moore Big Eagle.
She's my next door neighbor, Avon Crossing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, then.
As soon as you said it,
how about that?
I know his mom.
Ain't this crazy now? Well, didn't see that coming.
Didn't see that coming at all. No
Big
way.
Eagle.
How, wait a minute. I thought you lived up.
I used to live in Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
My ex-wife and I lived beside your mom in Avon Crossing.
Wait.
Okay, so now you've kind of seen a little bit of.
As soon as you said she goes around storytelling about the Native American, I was like, I'm wondering if War Eagle, because we called her Ramona, or War Eagle, we called her either one. I'm like, is that his mom? And I'm like, he's got to tell me. Then I looked at the name, I'm like, that's her.
Yeah.
As soon as I connected the dots, I'm like, Moore, that is her. Wow. Yeah. Does she still have a little colorful PT Cruiser?
I believe she does. The one that just sits there in the driveway. And
multicolored. The sun hits it, changes colors. Yeah. Man.
Yeah. So now you've already connected a couple dots. So you know who I'm talking about now. And now it's like I'm sure you've heard stories from her, and she shared with you guys. And so now talking from my angle, and it's funny because one thing me and my mom I've recognized with me and my mom is that we both have different stories, and sometimes there's her story, and then there's mine. Yeah. There's what I remember, and then there's what she kind of remembers about growing up and our lives and different things. So it's always interesting because we both can tell a great story, but sometimes our stories may not align.
Gotcha.
And that causes rifts sometimes. I would say that there's sometimes where I'm like, that didn't happen that way. And I know because I'm still dealing with a lot of the wounds from when that happened, and the way I processed it, the way it felt when it happened to me is different than how you experienced it based on what happened to you. So, or how you saw it. So it's always been interesting.
Got it. Is there a specific tribe?
So we are Tuscarora. Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. Out of Maxton, North Carolina.
Okay. That's fascinating.
Another commonality. I'm part Native American.
Okay.
My grandfather is from the Halifax County, Warrenton, North Carolina area.
Yeah.
And my dad explained it to me, and which is funny because it's my mom's dad, but my father knew the history and the heritage better than my mom did.
Right.
I'd never heard of a Halawa Indian, and I'm like, okay, talk to me, Pops. And he said, well, your grandfather was kind of excommunicated out of his neighborhood or out of his community because he allegedly killed a white man. And they didn't throw him in jail. They just told him he had to leave and couldn't come back. So he left his parents and all of his siblings never to really see them again. Then he met my grandmother, and they married and had kids, and 13 kids. And my mom was the youngest of 13. And then, of course, a number of grandkids. So we have some similarities there.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. That's wild.
So tell me this, and again, being from really two different communities, and I think we saw this play out a bit with Tiger Woods.
Okay.
Years ago when he really said, I'm not black, I'm Caucasian. And was there one of the communities or the other that you related to more, or were you really kind of in a tug of war that we hear a lot of kids from mixed heritage talk about?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So growing up primarily in a black community, and connecting more with people who, when I looked at them, I saw me. Yeah. When I looked at their stories, I saw my story in a way. When I looked at what they wanted, I saw what I wanted. I think that a lot of things became very, it became easy to connect, even though there were certain parts of the black community where it was just like, I was never black enough. Like I had a, growing up, I had a voice that people were like, okay, where's he from? And why does he talk like that? Mm-hmm. Like, why is he so proper? Why does it sound like that? And so I remember growing up, you know, I always used to ask my brother, like, why is it that I like the girls that like you, they don't like me? And he's like, that's because like you're different. And I'm like, different? Like, how am I different? Like, what's wrong with me? He's like, you just don't have enough edge. You don't, you know, you just, and I'm like, I'm literally, we're wearing the same clothes. Like, we both wear the same clothes. We both wear the same shoes. Right. How is it that I'm not what they're, and it just, I never could understand that. But it I guess it didn't really bother me as much, but it made me definitely become a lot quieter because I felt like my voice was the one thing that stuck out that made people say, okay, this guy is not from our community. He's not here. But then on the other end, when you have like, when you're in a Native American community, a lot of people say, well, I know what Native Americans or normally say, I know what Indians look like. Mm-hmm. And based on what most people thought Indians look like, I didn't look like that. And this is the part that really hurt, I think, the most, was that amongst Native Americans, there's a plethora of how Native Americans look. Mm-hmm. But when you begin to live amongst Native Americans, when you powwow with Native Americans, there's nothing worse than watching your mom and your sisters walk through certain areas and they stop you and say, hey, sorry, this is for like Native American dancers or Native Americans only. Like, and it was like I was stuck to like just kind of like figure out like I'm with. But you know what? As I look at my family, I'm like, I guess you wouldn't have known that I'm with them because they're all a lot lighter. And here I am, the only dark one in my family. And so you immediately assume that I can't be with them. I can't be with them. And so it left me in this space of, once again, where it was like, where is my place at? Like, where is my space? Where is a space where I'll be accepted, not for like how I dress or what I look like, but just be accepted for who I am and like what I actually am. Be the full, as we like to say, the full authentic me. Like me for who I authentically am. I don't have to put this on or say this or talk this way, but I'll just be accepted by somebody. So that made my childhood, go into my teens, a very confusing place to be, of like, all right, when will I be accepted?
When did it happen? When did it fall into sync?
Yeah. I would say a lot of it began to sink when I went to college. Okay. Like, as I grew out of like the young squeaky voice that I used to have, as I went off to college, I began to create and I will say that I recreated myself. Okay. And that's an understatement. Like, when you've had to evolve based on the space you're in so much, you begin to create this version of you that will make it in the next chapter. So you're like, okay, they want a little bit of this, they want a little bit of that. Okay, I'm gonna sprinkle on a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then everybody will accept me. So I'm gonna go off to college and I'm gonna completely reinvent myself. I went from being a little boy, as I've told people, called Robbie, to now I'm Rob. And as I walked into college, Rob was like the enforcer. He was like, okay, Robbie, don't worry. I ain't gonna let your heart be broken again. We did experience that before. I'm never gonna let that happen again. I'm gonna make sure that you have this facade that people will like, where your voice is getting a little bit deeper. So now that will kind of cover up that version of you that people used to laugh at when you talk. And yeah, people will still notice that your voice is a little bit different, but at least they won't know you from then, because we're gonna let that guy die. I'm gonna move on to this new chapter. So we're gonna bury this young man, this as I call it now, the inner child. Yeah, Robbie's gone, and now you're going to be Rob. You're going to live out of that.
And in your heart of hearts, is Rob real?
Rob was a version of me that I created that worked really well with the community I was in. So going to a historically black college, I wanted to fit in the black community. I wanted to be accepted in the black community. I wanted to not have to like prove that I was black enough. I did everything. I pledged. I did the fraternity life. I did the party life. I lived and was able to like blend in with everybody without being exposed. And that's really what it's all about. It's like, how long can I blend in till I'm exposed?
And that exposure means what? What would it have been exposing?
It would have been exposing that I'm a young man who has always been insecure about how I look, about how I talk, about my upbringing. I'm black and Native American, and to some people that's cool, but to other people they don't even understand that. And them not knowing that, I've never been accepted by you guys because now I'm in a new area now, and you guys are going to accept me because you never met me. We're all coming from different places. We all come in here. Hey, welcome. This is the me I've always been. You don't know anything better because you're not going to go back to my community, which was 7 minutes away, and like do a background check on me. You just going to accept me for exactly who I am and who I say I've been.
Right. Wow.
So
fascinating.
Let me ask you this, and I'm going backwards really quick.
Yeah.
So you get deep into your Native American heritage. We know how this country treated Native Americans and how this country came about as it relates to Native Americans, and how Native Americans are the original people of the United States.
Right.
How did that shape your view of people who are non-melanated, for the lack of better words, at any given point of this journey?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So, it's funny. A lot growing up without TV, which was a key component to like understanding a lot of different things, made me move in a way to where like I was accepting and loved every area because I didn't watch Roots. I missed out on watching a lot of these movies. Rosewood. Now I did eventually see Rosewood, and I'm not gonna lie, like I was ready to slap somebody. I'm just gonna be honest. I was ready to slap somebody. I was like, wait, how did I not know about all of this? But I would say that I moved in a way to where I liked whoever liked me and whoever would accept me and whoever would not like say, this is not your area. Yeah. So if you're inviting me in, then hey, look, I'm trying to be in the room. Like I'm good here. Like, so yeah, I never, and the crazy about it is if you've ever met my mom, my mom's the exact same way.
Never met a stranger.
Like, ain't ever met a stranger.
Never.
And she'll walk in the room and they'll all look at her and be like, ma'am, do you notice something's wrong here? Like you don't blend? And she's gonna be like, what do you mean? Looks like I'm supposed to be here.
She takes up space in every room she walks in. I literally.
Wow. Wow.
Man, this is crazy. I'm still tripping that your mom was my neighbor.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she knows my brother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. There's not a person she normally doesn't know. Most people will remember my mom if they've had an encounter with her. Yeah. For sure.
Wow. So I'm going to bring us back to kind of where we were.
Okay.
So Robbie's gone.
Yeah.
We've transformed, and the only other person I've heard described like that was the old Hollywood actor Cary Grant. And his name was something else when he came to Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And he became, he worked
to become,
Cary Grant.
Yep.
And that's the person that we know. Mm-hmm. So as you transform from Robbie to Rob in school, how did it affect behavior?
Oh, yeah. No, like so a lot of my behavior came from my past wounds. And so when you mix a new identity that you've created, a pose that you've created, and you mix it with a lot of past wounds and trauma, then oh man, listen to me. You are a walking punching bag, and not because I'm getting punched, but because I am punching everybody. I am bleeding on everybody. So a lot of my hurt, like I remember the dating scene. When it came to the dating scene, I was not trying to be tied down to anybody for a while because Rob was like, yo, don't you remember what happened when you last got tied down? When you were last in a relationship, you got hurt. We not going to be hurt no more. We done with getting hurt. So we're going to avoid relationships. And we're just going to kind of like, yeah, I can recognize she might really like you. But nah, bro, because, you know, it's just only a matter of time before she hurts you, because I didn't know how to deal with the pain. A lot of us walk around with pain all the time, and we're literally living out of the pain. The pain is what fuels our lives. The pain of, and it's not always a heartbreak. Sometimes it could just be the lack of affection from your parents. It could be this thing of like, I'm pleasing everybody because I just want to be accepted, and I want the affection of people saying, hey, look, I love you. You matter. I see you. And so how you've grown up and the experiences you've had affect who you are in your next chapter, whether you create that person or you're still living out of your authentic self that's bruised and battered. It just all depended. And so like a lot of people that experienced me, I was a really cool guy. I was quiet. I was, you know, I talked when I needed to, but a lot of that came from the fact of, well, I don't want to expose myself. I don't want to talk too loud or be too loud because then they might like say something's wrong. So I'm going to be quiet enough, but I'm going to, you know, I'm going to move around, and I'm going to make this environment my own by being my own man now. And I'm going to hide as much of Robbie. Like we've dusted the area. We yanked him off, put him in a grave. You know, what Robbie? There is no Robbie. Like no, you know, you're never going to know about my, I mean, even down to like pictures of me growing up, because I didn't like the way I had acne and everything. I wanted to completely get rid of that kid because in order to continue to be this guy, I gotta hide him. So
I don't think that's unusual though. I mean, I think we all had a piece of us as a young person that we wanted to get rid of. You know, I was, I mean, for me, it was, you know, bad teeth. It was being skinny. It was, you know, I was, I mean, I'm not going to front. I was kind of handsome kid. I'm just going to call it what it is. Other than the teeth and being skinny. So I got braces. You know, never gained weight until later on in life. I mean, even in college, I was 6 feet tall, 135 pounds, size 29 waist.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Pockets touching.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think we all have that something that we wanted to get. Wasn't the most athletic. I mean, I played ball and just wasn't great. And, you know, when you go to school and you got all these kids who are way more athletic, and the athletes are getting all the girls, you're like, you know? So I think we all have that. It's just I think it's to the magnitude. And then the other thing for me, and I'm assuming for you too, Chill, was we had television, and so we watched a lot of it. For all the time. So for you not to, man,
was this cultural?
No. So the crazy thing about it is my mom felt like the best way to raise us would be raising us on books and not television. Wow. And I don't know what that came from or where, and she's still that way. She's still not really a TV watcher. She watches books. If you've ever been in her house, you remember what it looked like.
Yes.
It's a in-home library.
Yes.
She felt like the best way to raise us would be to raise us without TV. Now, of course, she kept this black and white TV under her bed so that she could listen to like TBN and different things. And so when my mom would leave the house, and she knows this, it's not like I'm exposing this if she looks at this, but like we used to like turn to other channels. So I used to be able to watch channels that you could dial in, like Family Matters, you know, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like Full House. So I saw what the culture was projecting to me of what a home should look like. Okay, so that's how a father should look. Okay, so that's how a home should look. That's how we should. Okay, I think Steve Urkel is not supposed to look like he's. I don't think they like him, so got it. Check. I'm not supposed to look like him. But like I picked up a couple of things here and there just to understand how I was supposed to move and maybe why I wasn't being accepted. So okay, cool. I gotta be smooth like Will Smith. Got it. I'm gonna work on that. And then as you know, I would say around middle school, high school, that's when my mom remarried, and I got a brother, I got a stepbrother, and he began to like put me under his wing and say, okay, I got you. I know how this all works. I'm going to show you how this works. And I began to follow him. Even though he was my younger brother, I followed him because he understood. My mom finally put me in public school. He was like, I got you. I got you covered. So he helped me.
Your little brother.
Yeah, a little brother. Yeah, right. I know. It's pretty wild because normally it's the oldest, and I'm the oldest, that kind of leads the pack. But no, it was my little brother who kind of like showed me the ropes in a lot of cases. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's interesting. I've got a brother 4 years older.
Okay.
In a neighborhood, grew up in a neighborhood, probably easily 50 boys. It was full of knucklehead boys in different ages and generations. And so there was my generation, my brother's generation, 4 years older, a string of boys. And then the next one was 4 years older than them.
Yeah.
And the little guys taught everything we shouldn't have been taught at a too early age.
Yeah.
Way
And that,
too
okay,
early.
so that's crazy then, because I thought it was just me. I was like, okay, and I understood how my little brother knew like so much more than me because his mom, he had a completely different relationship growing up. His mom, you know, he got the coolest gear. He watched TV. He got to see a lot of what I didn't see. So I was highly sheltered from a lot of different things that a lot of people got to see. Yeah. So what better person than to teach me, but also not only teaching me how things looked out here, he may have carried me under his wing to say, hey, look, dude, the way you moving, they gonna keep running over on you. You way too nice. Your heart is way too far out there on your sleeve. And so in a way, not that it's his fault, because I agreed to say, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? I think that you might have something here. Like that hurt. That stung. I'm gonna tuck this away. I can't live like this. I can't move like this. So a lot of how I moved really was dependent on like what culture said. What my brother was telling me. I was conformed to the culture to say, cool, I think I figured it out. I think I know how not to move now, even if that is to the detriment of who I truly am.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. So we put Robbie away.
Yeah.
Robbie's gone.
Rob
is in college.
Yeah.
Rob is the man. Rob is figuring it out.
Yeah, I would say so.
Rob's figuring it out. Rob's figuring out what rooms, what spaces, what places to move in and around and about in.
Yeah.
Rob's becoming the man.
Yeah, I would say so. I would like to think so.
Yeah. Rob's becoming the man. Rob's getting a lot of attention. And Rob starts to move in a way that maybe Rob is not moved up to this point.
Sure.
And it's getting a lot of attention. When we had our first conversation, you shared your story.
Yeah.
And a story of moving a certain way.
Yeah.
A story of some mistakes.
A lot of mistakes.
a story of reaching a point of despair, complete despair, almost throw in the towel despair.
Yeah.
Story of coming clean.
And
forgiveness and redemption.
Yeah.
And I was floored.
Yeah.
I said, I've got to talk to this guy to hear him if he will share his story.
Yeah.
To share his story because it's going to help somebody else.
Yeah.
Can you share your story?
Yeah, no, I would love to. So yeah, I appreciate you setting it up, setting the frame up for me to paint in, and I appreciate you even like giving me a little bit of grace, because the truth is it was a lot uglier from the way I saw it, looking back on that story and realizing that like, wow, I messed this up Like I messed this whole picture thing up. Like I thought that I was doing exactly what this life told me I should do. You know, it told me to get out here and grind. It told me to be the man. It told me what to wear. It told me how to get the girls. And what the culture told me mixed with a lot of my lack of acceptance, a lot of my lack of hurt and pain from childhood, it made me a version of me that was very manipulative. I became a liar.
Hey guys, this is DB with the Soul of a Man podcast. Hey, we really appreciate you guys rocking with us all these months. The feedback has been amazing. We hope to continue to bring you amazing content. We need a huge favor from you though. We need you to like. I think that like button is somewhere right here. We need you to share. I think it's right here maybe. And we need you to subscribe. Come on guys, keep rocking with us and share this content. And we want to reach millions. We appreciate you.
I would, because when you're covering up a story, you gotta keep lying.
Keep lying.
You come on, don't you? I mean, there is no end of the lie. So when you get used to lying, oh man, you just keep lying.
Even when you get caught, you lie.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
Yeah. There's no end to the lies. You gotta keep lying, and it's crazy because people always ask. I remember my little brother used to be like, "Well, why do you lie?" And I was like, well, what you don't realize is that I've had to lie up to this point to even continue on the relationship that we've had. Like I had to bury a lot of me and lie my way through it. So I lie because if I start to tell the truth, then that's going to unravel a story of taking me back to who I was. I don't want to go back there again. Yeah. So let's just keep this moving. Let's just keep lying. I'll manipulate you because know that when you lie, you also have to manipulate people to believe the lie. And that starts with manipulating yourself. Yeah. Like you got to lie to yourself. You got to believe the lie and you got to be fully invested in the lie. Like,
well, it's got to sound convincing to you first.
For sure. 100%. Yeah.
But sound like you got good at it.
Oh no. Yeah. Like sometimes I used to look people in the face and I'm not proud of this, but I used to look people in the face and like literally would blatantly lie and be like, man, that sounded good. I mean, I bought it if they didn't buy it. And I'm looking at them and you could see like it was like, I don't believe it, but it was like, yo, so like if you really care about me, like you calling me like I would go as far as like putting it on a plate to where it's like, so now you don't believe me. Like now, okay, all right. So see, you don't care about me anyway. You don't really love me, and it was. I look back not on just all of the people I've dealt with in college, but even after college, I look back on how I was with my wife before I was with her and before I was married to her. Just how it was just a string of lies, and how I had to wipe the area clean and keep the story going, because the story, if I don't begin to unravel, I saw myself going all the way back to the beginning again, starting at go. You know, don't collect $200, go straight to go. It was like Monopoly game of like, no, yeah, you don't want to go back there again.
And go was Robbie?
Go was going back to this uncomfortable place of Robbie. Wow. And not wanting to be that guy. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
So I would say that from there, my story really began, and I began to see like how far deep I was in this hole when I'm married, thinking that like, okay, once I get married, man, maybe I can cut this old lifestyle out. Maybe I can start fresh. Listen to me. If you think that your life just changes when you get married, I want to go ahead and just kill that lie that they say that once you get married, you can walk away. No. You carry that guy into your marriage with you. Right. That guy comes into your marriage and he continues to do the exact same thing. Nothing changes. The only difference is you have this ring on now that says, hey, look, the truth of the matter is you can be married, Rob, and then you can go to, I don't know what you're talking about, Rob. And that is the worst thing that they ever did, allow me to be able to take off a ring and begin to pose as a guy who wasn't married to a lot of people who still found me attractive, who still wanted my time, and who, because I lacked that, because I didn't get enough of that, I was giving them all the time in the world, because the truth is that I go back to this all the time. At the core of it, I never loved me. So I couldn't truly love anybody else. When I started to bury me, that was a direct tie to say, I don't love me enough. So let me kill off me so I can be a new me. And so if you're wanting me to love you, well, it starts with me loving me, which means I got to go back to me. And if I can't do that, then no, I'm going to love you out of what I have. Wow. And as I always like to describe it, if you had like a gas tank meter, like in your car on your chest, that showed how much love you have for yourself, and people could walk up and see how much love you have for yourself and say, wow, your gas tank meter of love is on E. Like, how would you love me? Well, the truth is I can't. But because you don't know that, right, you're looking for love just like I'm looking for love, and maybe your wounds look a lot like mine, so you'll take whatever you can get, unfortunately. Right. And so that's what I gave. I gave whatever I had to give that made you think I loved you. You know, I watched the music videos. Hey, look, you want me to sing to you? Cool. You want me to bring you a couple flowers? Cool. You want me to take you out? Cool. And I'll give you just enough to keep you around. And the crazy thing is, I went into a marriage with that same mindset, that same guy.
Well, let's think about this though. If you get what age did you get married? May I ask?
I got married in my I guess late 30s.
Okay, so late 30s. So let's assume you started having this, fascination and this affection for women at 15, like most guys do, some even earlier. Mm-hmm. And you started this certain lifestyle. So you had, let's say, 15 plus years of a certain lifestyle. But then you think that's going to change the moment you put on a wedding ring and say, I do. It's not possible.
Yeah.
You're just a married version of what you've always been.
100%.
Until you truly heal.
100%.
I'm as guilty as they come when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I remember my ex-wife, I remember she came to visit me for the first time, and I had a card that another girl had given me. And it was sitting right there. I forgot to put it away. And she asked me, she said, who's this card from? Because it was not a, get well, congratulations. It was none of that.
Right.
Yeah. I love you, blah, blah, blah type card. She's like, who's this card from? And I had to come up with the lie that quick.
Immediately.
And I could.
Immediately. Yeah.
And the cycle just continued.
Yep.
So I'm with you.
Yeah.
So we're going through women.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is. We're going through women.
Yeah.
Was it filling your tank?
Come on.
Was it getting you to the point of loving Rob?
There's this lie that you continue to tell yourself, because I think out of all of it, you lie to yourself more than you lie to other people.
Pretty much.
And you tell yourself that this is making me happy, but yet I gotta keep running back to continue to keep, because as I've learned, happiness is based on what's happening at the moment. And if you're filling my tank right now, you're making me feel loved, cool. The problem is that I got to keep running back to you or somebody to keep my tank full, because it empties so quick because I've never patched the holes. And so everything that I got is just emptying out of me. And so I'm running to you, and it's like, oh, that wasn't enough. I got to run back to her, and then I got to run to her. And so I'm constantly like, as I would say, I was full of holes where everything that I thought would fill me up was pouring out, and I was constantly filling myself back up because it was never enough.
It's like an oil spill. Look how much stuff you left on the ground.
All over. Yeah. And the crazy thing about it is, you say an oil spill, there's nothing worse than when you try to light a match to all that oil and watch your whole past burn, so you can try to step into a new story and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Ain't nothing back there. Like I don't know what you're talking about. That ain't my story. Ain't nothing to look at back there.
Nothing but bodies.
Right. That's all right. Yeah. And it's like I used to as a man, I used to laugh about a lot of this stuff, and it was almost like my calling card of like, this is what a man does. A man runs around. This is what men do. This is what all the men around me have always done. Like they run around. They don't stay in one place because they probably know, like me, that if you stay in one place, your heart will get broken. So no, I'm doing what all men do. And to think that I would settle down, I've never seen that. So I don't know what that looks like. I can't do what I've never seen. And so I'm just going to live out the life the way I've seen fit. It protects me. It keeps my heart from getting hurt. And unfortunately, there's casualties to that. Yeah. And I look back on that now and I'm so ashamed of that. Man. But that's just how I live. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you know what I'm saying right now.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because the thing is that that's not really who we are. At the root of it, that is not who we truly are.
Yeah. And certainly not who we want to be.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be that person at the time because you're having fun. But in retrospect, when I look back, man, I loathe the person that I was.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurts me to this day to see the people that I hurt along the way.
Yeah.
For my own self pleasure and selfishness altogether.
Yeah, for sure. And it didn't help that we look to the TV and we see these rappers that are rapping about like, hey, bro, this is the lifestyle. Yeah. We look around on TV and we see these people that are like stepping out and like hiding and covering up. And so we're like, so see, I'm not tripping. All the rappers are doing it. All these people are doing it. So like, why would I be the oddball to go and want to be like faithful? Why would I want to be the oddball to go and want to like look anything but like what they're showing me?
Right. And I didn't even have to look at TV. I just looked down my lineage. Father, uncles, grandfather. Mm-hmm. I had living, breathing examples with my last name.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. I was just gonna say, yeah, it's unfortunate. That's what we have to see. That's what we look up to. That's what we see, so we mimic it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at a point you're married, but there's a single person outside of your marriage that draws your interest.
Oh, that single person was like, let's start with me. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't single the way I was moving. Mm-hmm. Like, and this is not to expose anybody. I mean, this is because I know there's gonna be people listening and they're gonna be like, bro, not you too. Yeah. I fell victim to shooting fish in the barrel, which is through these dating apps, man. Like, man, that was the worst thing. Don't get me wrong, greatest thing they ever came out with for single people. So that, especially during COVID and different things, but like to put that in the hands of a married man who can sit in his couch and play father, play husband, and still be doing things. I would say that I hate that I ever fell into that trap. I hate that I continued on, and I was just talking to my son recently, and I was like, son, the biggest thing that used to get me, and I said, and I know you'll resonate with this, in that every time I got bored, that was the word. It was, some people say it's the devil's playground. When you get bored, idle minds, it became the worst for me, because when I got bored and I looked around and I needed something more interesting to do, I needed something to go after, I needed something to chase, I needed to be chased, then I began to do things that I should never have stumbled on. And so, yeah, I found myself, running to tons of single people, unfortunately. I found myself running to tons of people that would see me, that would validate me, that would boost me up and make me feel like I was the man again, like I was in college. I never wanted to stop. We talked about in the beginning, like how you have your glory days, and sometimes we're trying to relive our glory days through our old days as we get older, and we're still trying to have that feeling and get that feeling through a hit of something. And then I say my drug was women. It could have been something else. It could have been a hard substance abuse. It could have been a narcotic. It could have been something that I needed to continue to get that fixed. I need to get that fixed. Like where you at?
Women was the drug of choice.
That was my drug. Yeah. That was my drug. And it's I like I said, I wish that I could have turned it off. I thought that I would turn it off when I got married, but here I am married. I'm running into other singles who are finding me attractive, whether it be because I'm going out to a party or I was at some type of frat thing or something like that, and I just let that continue to just continue to go downhill. I just found myself going downhill with all of it.
If memory serves me, you told me when we first talked that really kind of a full-blown relationship spun.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah.
One of those past people.
Yeah. I mean, a full relationship. Like now, don't get me wrong. All of them were relationships, situationships, whatever people want to call them. They were all, in my mind and their mind, a situation. And we got a situation here. Yeah. But one situation in particular, it got so serious that I didn't know how to find my way out, because I was ready to throw away my whole family for a relationship I found myself in. And you know, it's funny watching movies like Harlem Nights, where the guy called and was like, "Hey, put your mama on the phone.
I ain't coming home.
Hey, look, I ain't never coming home." Like
home.
That's funny until that's your story and you feel that way, and you've got 3 kids and a wife, and you're like, I don't know if I want to come home. Like, I don't know if I'm coming back home. So
we have a lot of female viewers, and we've had these conversations in the past couple of days, even earlier today, and they want to know, how is it that my husband gets to the point of, is it something I'm not? Am I not enough?
Yeah.
How did I get to the point where my husband chooses to go outside of me, and just hearing you talk in your explanation, really be involved in a full-fledged relationship with another person, to the point where they're contemplating rolling the dice to maybe not come home.
Yeah. So, and there's, I hate when people ask people questions like that, as if there's one answer to like, oh yeah, like, let me tell you, like, why is it that, the truth is that, this is just the blanket truth, that it has nothing to do with the woman, the wife. A lot of times they want to take the blame. They want to understand what I can do to get this man to be more present, to get this man to be more whatever. And it has nothing to do with you. There's nothing, unfortunately, this is going to suck to say, but there's nothing you can do. It has everything to do with a lot of the hurt, the pain, the trauma, the experiences that man has that you've never even known about. He's never shared with you, and he's never put out the closet, because he probably killed off his old self too, his old self, to where you don't even know what's in the closet of his youth that has spun into this version of him that you have now, that you're wanting to fix, and that you're wanting him to be good, and you're wanting to have this good man. And at the root of it all, he was a very good man. He was a good young boy who allowed everything that happened to him to turn him into the guy you have now, who doesn't want to address the pain. He just wants to live through it. And he doesn't know he's living through. He doesn't know he's carrying all this stuff. He doesn't know. He don't want to, he doesn't want to admit that hurt me. Yeah. So instead of admitting,
why can't he admit that? Because the other thing that they come back with, we're married. I'm supposed to be your best friend. You're my best friend. I'm supposed to be your best friend. Why couldn't you tell me about Robbie?
But you married under false pretenses from the very beginning. Most of us do. Especially, well, let me back up. I shouldn't say most. Most of us who...
A lot of us,
who had the same issues that you and I had.
Yep.
I mean, I can't tell you about your case, Robbie. I can't tell you about Lil Darren, because it's kind of embarrassing. I don't want you to think less of me.
For sure. I don't want you to see the weak version of me.
Weak version of me.
Yeah. The unattractive. I'm not even attracted to him. I didn't love him.
And unattractive, I'm talking about the inside, not on the outside.
Oh, yeah.
It's this ugly person I have on the inside of me.
Yep.
I don't want you to see that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not because you were an ugly person, but because you couldn't love you. You couldn't see who you really were underneath everything that everybody else pushed away and said that it wasn't good enough and it wasn't it didn't fit the narrative. It didn't fit the culture. So because they couldn't love it, you couldn't accept it either. And so you did away with yourself. You did away with that young man who was so pure, who was so kind, who was so loving. That young man that if your wife, your girlfriends could get now, man, like, listen to me, there's not a lot that they would have to do because this man wants to be around you. Yeah. But more importantly, it's not so much that he loves you so much, but he loves himself so much that he's able to pour into you from the love he gave himself. And more importantly, I can't help but say that even that love that I experienced from Christ was what overflowed my love tank, because now I'm able to love not just from the love I gave myself, because I didn't have any love for myself in the beginning. I had to be filled before I could start to be who I am now. God had to come into my life and really be able to purge all of who I had created. And to even and we'll get there in the story.
Yeah. So
but
I was going to say let's get to that breaking point.
So you reach
the breaking point.
You reach your point in the outside relationship.
Yeah.
Where there's a turning point.
Yeah.
And you said, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. The lies, man. Okay. So this is the crazy thing. People think I'll lie forever. No, there comes a point where eventually you're like, I'm tired of lying. And I didn't think I'd ever really like a person this much to stop this, but I think I'm tired of lying to people that I actually say I love. And if this is what love is, and this is what I gotta do, then I'm tired of doing this. And so this person came to me almost like she could smell it. She was like, something's not right. And I, like we said earlier, normally you lie, you just keep the lies going. Like, no, you just tripping. Okay, manipulation. Okay, like spin it back and put it on her. No, I was just like, you're right. I can't do this no more. And you're right.
How long had the relationship been? I'm sorry to cut you off.
How long had what now?
How long had that relationship been?
That relationship went on for about a year.
Got it.
I'm running behind my family's back. I'm taking time away from my wife and kids to be in a place where it was almost like a drug. And that's the crazy thing, because I have such a huge background in like knowing what it looks like for people to run to drugs. I would compare the way I ran back there to like somebody who was just like, I need to get high again. I need to get high again. I need that hit. I got to get that hit right now. Yeah. So I would say that when that ended, when that came crashing down, I tell people the way it felt was that this person had created a space for me to be fully me in a way.
Yeah.
Like you don't look behind the curtain.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give. And I did. There was so many talks about who I was, because as I described it, it's like every time I came around, they took my mask off and it messed me up. And I'm like, oh, wait. You don't want me to just like be this guy who brings you flowers. You want me to? No. I just want to get to know who you are. Yeah, well, I don't even want to get to know who I am. So like let's pass that. But no, it was a constant thing of like, who are you? Who are you? You don't have to like put this facade on anymore. You don't got to be this guy that you've been. And it made me sit with myself and be like, well, dang, who am I? And as I begin to, I will say it brought about so much emotion. I cried so much because I started to like peel back layers of like who I really was, and it messed me up. And so every time I went there, it was like another therapeutic session of me sitting with somebody who wanted to know who I was, and I'm trying to figure out who I am. And as I peel back layers of me and I started like watching things that exposed me for who I was, I'm like, okay, I can't reveal to her who I am. I got to keep that hidden until the day came where it was like, yeah, I'm a liar. And I would say that she literally handed me back my mask and said, okay, well, here's your mask. Go back to living the life you've been living with this mask on.
Wow.
And I remember I used to not be able to tell this story without crying because it was so tough to recognize that, like, for a moment in time, I came alive to maybe who I used to be. And now I got to go back and play this guy that I've been lying, I've been manipulating, I've been cheating, I've been hiding. And I would say that night, I literally sat in my car and I came to the end of myself. I said, I'd rather pull out in front of a truck. I'd rather step out in traffic right now than go back home and keep living this life that I've been living and being this liar, I'm tired. And I remember Jason Wilson said one time that, like, when a man is tired, when he says he's tired, it's not because he needs more sleep.
Right. Right.
It's because his soul has been beat up on so bad, and he has not only hurt everybody around him, but he has hurt himself so much.
Yep.
And I was tired of hurting. I was tired. I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to go back to that life. I didn't want to live like this anymore. So I came home, and I remember saying, I'm gonna tell her. I'm gonna tell her where I've been coming from, where I've been going, what I really been doing. It wasn't work. It was. I've been running, and I've been out here running to a drug that I thought that I would get rid of when I came into this marriage, but I didn't. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to leave this earth without with you thinking that, like, oh, well, yeah, he was an upstanding guy. He was a great husband and a great father. And no, I was none of those things. I was a fraud. I was a poser. I was a guy who didn't like myself enough to be myself. So I pretended to be whatever I needed to be to bring me momentary happiness. And I remember it got so bad that my sister and my neighbor came together through the phone. My sister lived in Florida, and she was like, I'm worried about him. I need you to go over there, and I need you to, take all his guns. Wow. I don't trust him with a gun in the house. The truth is that I didn't have the balls to do that. I wasn't going to do that, but I knew I wanted to go to sleep, and I didn't want to wake up again. I knew I was tired of this.
Wow.
Yeah, I was tired of it.
Yeah.
So I would say when I got to that point in my life, that's where, unfortunately, a lot of men just give up.
Yeah.
They throw in the towel.
Yeah.
They're too tired to rebound. They're too tired to put things back together. They're too tired to continue on this story. A lot of men just eject seat at that point. Yeah. They give up. Yeah. And I was right there on the edge with a lot of them. Knowing how it was like, man, it'd be better just to throw in the towel. I don't want to keep doing this. And I would say that the divine way God found me in the darkest moments of my life. And it wasn't because I decided to go back to church and I found her. No, I literally found myself trying to run from this mess I made and run to a grave. And there was a moment where I went to this thing where this guy, I'll never forget his name, Mr. Patton. He was like, I got to the end of my life where I just got tired of like it never going the way I wanted to, and I made an all-in commitment to God. And this wasn't at a church. This was at a clay shoot on a ranch that I decided to go to because I didn't have nothing to do else with my life, and me and my wife were separated because I was done. And I told God, I said, man, I hate this life. So if you think you can do something with this life I have torn up, then you can have it. You can have this life. You can have all of my life. I don't want to do life anymore the way I've been doing it because it sucks. So you can have my life. And I said, I'll push all my chips in. And I did just that. I pushed all the chips in. Everything. I gave him the title. I gave him the keys. I said, I don't want this life, but you're telling me that you can do better with this life. So you can have this life. And I meant that. And tell people, like, I've never really been a religious person because I ran from God for so long. I ran from God because I looked at God the same way I looked at my dad. And because my dad was a pastor, and I looked at them as like they're coworkers. like they're coworkers. They work together. Right. Right. So if they're coworkers and they talk all the time, then why would you want to have anything to do with my life like him? Like he's not in my life. He's got his own family. And this is I look at him as the church. So I don't want to have nothing to do with God. I don't want to have nothing to do with the church. Wow. So for me to say, all right, well, God, if you think you can do better, because I thought I did a great job. Yeah. I thought, I got the house. Mm-hmm. I got the wife. Mm-hmm. I got the cars. I got the motors. I got toys out the yin yang. I did very well for myself. I was patching these holes up, this hurt up with everything I could throw at stuff. I'm throwing stuff at it. I'm buying everything to give me this happiness that I want. That this happiness that all these rappers and all these other people told me was like, yo, when you get that, you made it. Yeah. And like, I didn't feel like I made it. I didn't feel like I had it. Like I would tell the first person that like, yo, if you think that all that stuff will make you happy, I'll be the first to tell you. I get it. You're going to have to do it because I got to just see for myself. Right. But let me tell you, like, none of that stuff is going to make you happy. Right. I don't care how many cars you got. I don't care how many. It doesn't matter. Money is never going to fix it. Women are never going to. Drugs, all it's doing is allowing you to escape the reality that you buried long time ago. Yeah. That's where I had to go back to. I wanted to keep running forward. I wanted to forget that guy. And I was escaping and I was distracting with all of this stuff.
Yeah. So you're that same guy. Now with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So that I don't have to look back at him.
Exactly.
So that I don't ever have to look back at those old school, those yearbook pictures and that old guy that I tried to burn all the pictures of so I never have to remember him. I moved forward. And now here I am sitting in a dark guest room in my house. And I'm like, God, I don't know what you want to do with my life, but I know that I am no longer in control of it. I've lost all control. Wow. And I remember I signed up for therapy because I knew I had to talk this out with somebody. Yep. And what God did in therapy, to this day, I tell people, I'm sitting there. And you know, they ask you questions that you've asked yourself before. Yeah. But now at this point, I hate myself. Mm-hmm. I hate who I've become. Mm-hmm. And I'm still confused on who I am and what happened to me. I know what happened, but the funny thing about trauma, it has a way of disconnecting you from the memories of what happened so that you can continue to live in survival. Because if I have to remember what happened to me when I was like 17, if I have to remember what happened to me when I was 13, then now I gotta drink even more. So trauma has a way of like helping you like cope. It helps you survive by like, okay, like what we gonna do now is we gonna just completely like unplug that memory and we just gonna move forward. Like gonna help you continue to unplug those bad memories. And sitting in therapy and I remember there was a question of like, well, why do you feel like you always have to be loud? I gotta be loud. You know why I gotta be loud. That's just how black people are. We loud. Like we just loud. We loud people. We a loud race. And in that moment, all of a sudden it was like God just began to pour back into my mind of what happened. He was like, no, you've been loud because as a kid, nobody ever heard you. Nobody ever heard you. So you had to be louder than the TV. You had to be louder than the radio. You had to be louder than everything going on around you because you were just in the background. Yeah. People laughed at your voice, and then when you would talk up, they would ignore you. And so you've always been loud because you felt like the only way anybody would hear you is if you're loud, and maybe one person might hear you. Yeah. And then it was one thing after another. I remember telling my therapist, like, wait, hold on. Like, wait a minute. I pulled out my phone and I just started typing. Because he started answering questions that I had forgotten about, that I had unplugged from my memory. Why I do this, why I continue to look for this type of affirmation, why I continue to run here, why I feel like I need that to feel me. Because I never had that affection. Because growing up, what my dad did to my mom in turn made my mom a shell of herself. Mm-hmm. So now I'm living with a mom growing up who didn't know how to give me the affection I needed. So I'll get that affection through other people who will feed that, what I needed, what I always saw all these other people on TV and all these other families giving their kids, and I don't have it. So I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it one way or another. And so here I am siphoning it off everybody that I touch and hurting them in the process. But it was filling and feeding something that was missing. From a childhood. He helped me remember like what happened with my dad and how I looked at his lack of presence and how I in turn looked at him. I looked at them no different. And if my dad is just as invisible as you are. So like, why would I look to you? Why would I give you a position in my life? And it just, all of this began to just unravel as I began to like understand certain things about why I'd been doing this. And I'm sitting here like, God, why are you giving me all of this? What do you want me to do with this? Like I recognize that there is so much more to me than I recognize. And the stories I told myself based on what happened. And I told myself these stories so that I could continue to survive as we talk. Like I've been doing this because I don't want to really sit with the real reason why. So I put this facade story there of like, oh, well, it just didn't matter. Oh, well, it's okay. It made me stronger. Oh, well, I gave myself all these different stories and these little copes, these cop-outs to live a life that never belonged to me. And the truth is that when I begin to unravel everything, it allowed me to begin to love Robbie again. But now I had, as I tell people, I had to die to who Rob was. There was another funeral of me saying, I can't be Rob anymore. I can't live like this. I hate every aspect of him. So if I'm surrendering my life to you, God, then I want you to take a life. I want to die to the old man and I want to be a new man. And so a lot of people ask me, well, then who do you go by? Well, if you've ever looked at my name on Instagram, most people miss this, but it's Rob_no more. Because I can't be that guy. Now, people still call me Rob, and that's just because that's where they met me. There's some people that call me Robbie because they grew up with me. But I recognize that I have to be Robert, and I have to love on Robbie, because Robbie is the key to who I authentically am. That's who I am at the core. That is who I am before this world got its hands on me. That's just who I was. That's who God created me to be. The voice and everything is what he made. And even down to like understanding like, okay, well, initially I hated my voice because everybody else hated it. But God gave me a voice because he had a plan in it all along. He knew that he was going to take a voice that I hated and put me in front of a mic, the scariest thing I could ever think to do. I'm talking about like, you want to put me where? You know I hate my voice, but you want to put me in front of a mic because he knew he put something in me that he wanted me to share with the world. He knew he had a story there that he wanted me to share with the world. But I had to go through that in order for him now to say, okay, I'm going to take a voice and now I'm going to project it, because this was never my plan to be behind a mic. Matter of fact, it was never my plan to be behind a mic.
So I want to, and I hate to do this, and I wish we had another hour. Because you got some good stuff, but it's good stuff we were working with here. So you've gotten God's forgiveness. We know that. Which is the most important forgiveness you could get.
Yes.
But then there's another person.
Come on.
I won't say equal, but if there's a number two, or 1A, 1B,
for sure,
this other person.
Yeah.
Talk about in the short amount of time that we have left. How your wife, who has to be the most amazing woman in the world, or at least
we'll put it this way: she's the most obedient person in the world, because trust me, there came a point where God told me that I had to tell her everything, not just where I came from, but everything. Now you talk about ripping a person, like you've already like cut a person to their core. Now you got to come back and you got to rip their heart out and step on it by telling them the truth of everything. And you're not telling them because you want to. You're telling them because God has said, no, I need you to tell her everything. Now, why? I didn't understand that. I'm like, a God who loves you wants me to rip this person up. But here I am. I tell her everything. At that point,
in your own obedience.
In my own obedience. Because as I said, when you surrender to God, there is no you do you In my life, it's obedience. So if you tell me to do this, then I'm doing this. So I share everything with her. And I recognize that as God began to work on us individually, because we both ran our own ways. Now, the only thing that kept us together was obedience, not to each other, not to the religion, but it was to a relationship that God had put together. And he was not ready for us to run our opposite directions. My flesh was ready to run. Hers was too. Our life said run. TV said run. Friends said run. But as he worked on us, you were saying that, eventually there was a forgiveness that had to happen with my wife. But the forgiveness started with a forgiveness from God.
Absolutely.
Then it became a forgiveness of myself. I didn't see that one coming. I had to forgive me for all I did. And then there was a forgiveness that happened between me and my wife, where she began to understand not just what I had gone through, but also what she had gone through that made her show up the way she did in our relationship. Right. How we both brought in baggage and hurt and pain. We both had buried pieces of ourselves that we never wanted to show each other so that we could be intimate and know each other for who we really were and not who we projecting. Hey, here's who I am. Right. But allow us to show up fully authentic in front of each other and say, this is how I really look naked. This is what I really look like.
So, wow. Jeez, so much.
Yeah.
So much. Let me ask you this. And I'm going to, just because of time, we're going to have to wrap on this.
Yeah.
You have a son, right?
I have a son, yeah.
I have a son as well. My son was born, I was 50.
Okay.
3 girls and 1 boy, and he's my only son. Having daughters is one thing. We know how we always try to protect them, this, that, and the third. Mm-hmm. What would you tell your son today? Because I often think about this. Excuse me. What would you tell your son today so he is not robbed X amount of years?
Yeah. Oh no, that's easy. So and I tell him all the time, it's less about what I say. Forget what I say. I've said a lot of things in these 16 years that he's been here. It's now how he sees me move, because I recognize that we are all a replica of what we've seen. Mm-hmm. We are mimicking what we've seen. Yep. I can tell my son, be a good stand-up man and husband. Yeah, but I ain't never seen that. Mm-hmm. I didn't see that from you. Mm-hmm. So now what he sees is he sees me have vulnerable conversations with men. He sees me pour out who I really am and give them the space to do the same thing. Yeah. We're no longer going to hide behind these facades and these poses. And the best thing you could ever do is also be the man who doesn't have to live in the shadows and the darkness, but be a man who shows up fully authentic. Yeah. And if they don't accept you, that's not a representation of yourself. That's a representation of their own insecurities that says, I can't accept who you are because your light is way too bright. Whatever you put into you, it's also instilling that understanding of how Christ changed my life, and understand that like the light that I bring into a room now, it's not my own. This is not my own platform, my own pedestal to like toot my horn and be like, look at what I did. No, this is look at what Christ did in my life and through my life to allow me to be able to be this guy to others. This ain't about me. This story ain't about me. This story is more of a story that allows other men to say, shoot, me too, bro. Yeah. And like, if he could do it in your life, I'm about sick and tired of like the life I've been living, and I'm ready to make a turn. So who can help me with that? And I know a man. I know a man who can come into your life and take I'm talking about we tore it up. We tore it up, didn't we? He can take that mess. We tore it up. He can take that mess and he can turn it into something beautiful. And so what reminds me of that is I wear a ring now, not the same ring I got when we were initially married, but it's a ring that is kintsugi art. And what it showcases is a solid ring with cracks all in it that has been formed back together by gold. I wear the same thing on my chest. Mm-hmm. And what that reminds me is that what man can tear apart, God can come back into it and rebuild it. He can put it back together. Yeah. I couldn't do this on my own.
Something more pure.
Yes, something more pure with something that adds value to it now. Yeah. So it reminds, when me and my wife got back together and we rededicated our lives and our vows to each other, I got a ring that I keep on now and I wear when I remember to wear it, which is honestly a reminder of, like, every time I put this ring on, I'm reminding myself of my vow. I'm reminding myself of a commitment.
Yeah.
I'm not just with you when I like you, because there's days when I don't like you. I'm not just with you when it's comfortable, because I'm committed to you.
Yep.
I'm committed to this family.
Yeah.
And God put that back together for me. Not just to be a thing to say, show off and say, I got a great family, but for me to be able to say, this is what God can do in a life when you give it to him and you put your chips all the way in. He can take a life and rebuild it. He can put your life and your marriage and your family back together if you give him the opportunity to, and you stop trying to do it all yourself.
Well, man, I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask of you, you pray this in.
Yeah.
Would you mind praying us out?
For sure. Yeah, no, definitely. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you today for just this conversation to happen.
Yes,
we
God.
thank you for how you continue to work, not just in these three men's lives, but all the men and women that are listening to this.
Yes.
Lord, you're sitting there as we carry the pain and the hurt of our past experiences, Lord. And you love us. We're not too much of a mess for you, even though sometimes we can't love ourselves because of the mess we've made. So, Lord, I pray that all those who listen, all those who experience this conversation today can look to you and see that you still have a plan. You still have a story that we have yet to experience in our lives that you want to turn a new page for. You want to bring us out of dark places to experience your joy, your peace, your comfort in our lives, in our marriages, and our relationships. So, Lord, I pray that you continue to do that through this conversation. You allow people to see that there is more to our story. There is more to the freedom and the love and the things that our heart desires that we have given up on in exchange for these small things in our life, Lord, these things that patch up what we believe is so ugly to display. So, Lord, I thank you for how good you are. We give you the praise today for what you're going to do and how you're going to continue to love us in all that we've done. Forgive us in all that we've done and allow ourselves to forgive ourselves and forgive others. And so we thank you for it all, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, soulmates, this has been the Soul of a Man podcast.
Yes.
Brother Rob No More.
Yeah.
We thank you for your honesty. We thank you for your transparency. We thank you for your openness. May God continue to pour out his blessings upon you and your family. And brother, we can't wait to talk to you again.
Yeah.
There's more to be done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. God has just gotten started. He's just getting started.
And also, soulmates, remember, please check out Rob's own podcast, God's Glory in Men's Real Stories.
Yeah.
Listen to that, God's Glory in Men's Real Stories. Make sure you check him out. If you weren't blessed by this, check your posts, and we'll see you soon. God bless.
God bless.